I'm interviewing Lisa Murray from Creativity Lab. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Alex.
Now, today we're going to be talking about courage with creativity. So, Lisa, let's tell everybody all about that.
All about that. Well, it's a big topic because a lot of people have ideas that they would really, there's something they would really like to create. And then they kind of get stuck. There's this stopping point. And a lot of it comes to two things. One is the courage to actually make whatever it is they want to make or create whatever it is they want to create. And the second part of it is then the courage to put that out in the world. So yeah, I thought today we might talk a little bit about those two things. And what would you like to know?
Well, what are we talking about? When you say courage with creativity, are we talking about business? Is it personal?
It's everything. So we create in every moment of every day. And most people don't think about that. They think creativity is art. And, creativity is so much more than that. And so this is really about going, okay, there's something I would like to be different in the world. There's something that I would like to create. It could be a business idea. It could be an art project. But it also could be, you want to change your relationship, or you want to, get some more education, or whatever it might be. Like, there's all sorts of things that people require courage for. And so part of what I'm really interested in is showing people the ways that they can start to have that and to play with that and to actually have the life they would like to have.
So Lisa, to me it sounds like you've kind of been there and done this before. Did you not have courage at one stage?
I was shy. When I say shy, I did not want my name on the internet. I did not want my photo on the internet. I was like, no. I used to when I worked out I could write, I used to go and try and work out what other name I could use.
An alias.
Pretty much. I was just like, I'm not putting my name on the internet. So yeah, I have been through a lot of these things. And of course I've come out the other side of it now. And
well, I think that's a great thing because I think, a lot of us have been in that boat or are still in that boat.
Still in that boat, yeah.
So it's nice to know that someone's been there and done that. So yeah,
there's more. Well, there's a lot of interesting things we could talk about. But one of the things is that, if you have the courage to create something, if you don't, it's like people are going to have their point of view, whatever you create, And I've done lots and lots of crazy things where my friends are like, really? What are you doing? And they've been very, they've had interesting points of view about what it was I was doing. And my sense of it was, well, I'm just having an adventure. And, actually what's possible with creating a different reality. And, yeah.
So in your creating, so you make a choice to create what, for example?
Okay, so when I first started my business, one of my businesses about 5 years ago, I didn't know really what it was. I just had this kind of feeling of what it was, this energy of what it was. And so I would literally invite people to come and have an adventure. And they would come and they would pay me $30 and I would give them things to talk about and things to create.
So did you know what you were going to be talking about?
Usually a day or two before.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but I would just put the invitation out for, okay, this is the topic and what would you like to do with it?
Wow.
And then I would also go with the flow in the moment. Yeah. But I'm a very spontaneous creator, okay? And not everybody is. So some people like to plan out their creations and get all the moving pieces in place. Yeah. I'm much more spontaneous and much more flexible as well, because for me there's this thing of, well, it didn't work how I thought it was going to, so what could I create with it? And this is the thing, because we're taught a lot of the time to choose your goal and stick with it. And have you noticed how that doesn't feel very light and expansive and fun?
Incredibly heavy, and then you start to go into, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stick with something? Why can't I get it done? I mean, I've done that. I'm sure you've all done that as well. And possibly you have too, Lisa.
A couple of times.
So what do you do?
Well, what do is you actually just make the choice that you're going to do this for as long as it's fun.
So this as in...
whatever your idea is, whatever your project is. Because it can be anything, This is when you're saying to me, well, what is it? It can be anything.
So it's not an end goal?
No. It's actually a way of living.
Wow.
Because if you actually
living in creativity.
Yeah.
Wow. Because it sounds like something a lot of people would be very interested in knowing what that is. Like you're saying a concept, but I think, how can we invite people to know like, what that is exactly?
Well, it's different for every person, first of all. And this is interesting too, because people go, oh, but I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and they're listing off their 10,000 got to do's. And it's like, well, is that living or is that fulfilling your to-do list? You know?
Yeah.
And so for me, like, I wake up and what I do is a choice, and I've created it that way. It wasn't always like that. I used to have a job. I used to be very stressed and burnt out and all those things. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work for me. So, you know, wherever you are right now, you can have the courage to change that. You know, you can actually go to the space of, okay, I'd like something different. How can that work? Right. And it's not working out the how. It's literally going, I'm choosing something different and opening up the door for that to begin to be possible.
So it's not a case of I have to choose the right thing?
Oh, only for you. It's actually only for you and for the people listening who really always want to get it right. And, you know, this was me as well. Like, I was always like, I have to get it right. You know, I spent my whole life looking for the perfect career.
Yeah.
And then I realised that actually I'm multi-creative. I like doing 20...
Does it exist?
Not unless you create it.
Well,
like, because, like, I like being multi-creative. So I will literally, you know, how many different things can I do? How many different things can I play with? And for me, so the perfect or the right thing is literally something different every day, right? Yeah. And when people look for the right answer, and, you know, like, from a business coaching point of view, I get a lot of people, I just want you to tell me how to get it right.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because there is no such thing as right. There is right for you in that moment, you know? And if you keep choosing what will work for you in that moment, then you get to a space where most of your life works pretty well.
Right.
But if you're always looking for the right answer before you'll start,
possibly may never start.
You may die wishing you'd started.
So sometimes I would think some of these steps in creativity maybe have nothing to do with the job, but you just want that creative, you want the creative juices percolating. So maybe it's about creating something else later down the track.
Yeah,
like, it's nurturing.
A lot of things don't create the thing that you think they're going to create.
Yeah.
A lot of things that I've chosen to create have been very much on it. Yeah, it is. It's about nurturing some ideas that are going to come in the future. And often I'll create something without really knowing why. A lot of people are like obsessed with, oh, you have to get the why.
So you don't question, why am I doing this? Okay, as an example, why do I want to go to the beach today and collect shells? But for some reason you want to do that.
No, I wouldn't ever look at the why of it. I'd like, oh, that's what I'd like to do. Let's go.
So it's about fun too.
Yes.
Fun sounds like it's
actually
important.
Living and creating your whole life is about fun. Because it's like, you know, you, the being, you know. Yeah. And so if you are really willing to follow what would be fun for you and what would give you joy, even those really tiny things, then it actually adds a different dimension to your life. You actually begin to create more pleasure in your life. And as you do that, it's interesting actually for me, I've seen quite a correlation between the more joy and the more pleasure that I have, the courage just seems to be there. And I think it is partially a thing of you learn to trust yourself.
Kind of feeds on itself.
Well, yeah, you learn to trust yourself. You learn to know that, okay, if I feel like picking up shells, then that's what I'm going to go and do. Yeah. And it's literally this sort of space where maybe that then gave you the 3 ideas that you really needed to know, because a lot of people try and force their to-do list into action, into fruition.
Because maybe you need to chill out.
Yes, it's a space that actually creates.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And see, a lot of people don't have the courage to go, well, you know, technically I should be working, but actually I'm just going to go and chill out and see what ideas can come. You know, there was a big research study done by IBM, I think it was, a few years ago now. And one of the things it was all about innovation, and one of the things that they talked about was that, you know, most senior managers value innovation highly, but they give it no time, no space. And I know this in life as well with a lot of people, because it's literally like, if you don't give your ideas the space to percolate, if you don't have the courage to go, no, I'm going to do... Like the other day I spent a whole day colouring in, right?
That doesn't sound like too much fun for me.
Okay, well, some people wouldn't find it very interesting, but for me it was very meditative, and it gave my brain a lot of space. And actually I think has been a bit of a scientific study done that it works for adults to actually colour in. It stops your busy brain.
True.
And
or scrapbooking or whatever.
Yeah,
it is
whatever it
for you.
is. Yeah. And for me, though, I just needed to unwind my brain. And so I literally was just colouring in for the fun of it, really, because it was making me happy. And at the end of that day, I was so done with colouring in. I probably won't need to colour in for another year at least. But it was awesome on the day.
Yeah.
Now, most people would be not telling anyone that they spent a day colouring because, you know, when you're an adult, you don't do that.
You're not supposed to do that.
You don't have fun when you're
Who
an
does
adult.
that?
Yeah. And, like, for me, it's like, yeah, that's what I did. I put it on Facebook. It was really fun. And then all these people went out and bought colouring in books, so I was really happy.
Oh, wow, you inspired people.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's like, if you don't have the courage to go, well, this is what I'm choosing for me,
Right.
then you never create the space
Right.
that allows the possibility of the really amazing thing to show up. Because out of that day, I got lots of very cool ideas.
Yeah.
Right? And I would just write them down and keep colouring in. Write them down, keep colouring in.
Which, Lisa, it's kind of like, you know, remembering being a child again. I mean, the things we did when we were young, we did them because they were fun to do. Like the colouring in, or playing with Legos, or cooking, or whatever it is. As a child, we do things because they're fun. And we do it for a while, then we do something else, and we do something else, and do something else. It all follows.
Yeah. Well, kids know a lot about creating.
Yeah.
Right? Kids actually are brilliant at it. And it really is that, you know, the school system and the demands of, oh, and then after school you have to go to this and do that and do that and do that. It takes out all of that spontaneous play that actually is the energy of creation. And so it's like, if you actually took yourself back to being a kid and you just started playing in the way you did when you were a kid, to see what you could create with your life, not because you have to get it right, not because you have to work it out. You know, and this is especially so for people who are in a difficult situation where your life is not working how you would like it to. And I know from very personal experience that in those moments you think, I can't do that, I haven't got time for that, that's ridiculous, don't be stupid. I think I argued with my acupuncturists for about a year about the thing of doing nothing. They're like, no, really, you've got to just chill out and do nothing.
You argued with your acupuncturist?
Yeah.
Okay. Not your husband, your acupuncturist.
Yeah, they were very clear with me that I had to really chill out. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Well, it took me a much longer time for my body to come good after the burnout. And I'm sure if I just went and coloured in, it would have been really a lot faster. So there is this thing that creativity gives us that goes beyond the obvious. You know, and this is why I love to talk about having the courage to create, because when you begin to embrace that and when you really start to play with it and you take the leaps, or you know, you make yourself more visible in the world, or any of those kinds of things, it actually creates so much more than just what the obvious is. So yeah, that's one of the things that's interesting for me.
So, Lisa, a lot of people feel like they cannot create because they've got a lot of things going on. They're too busy, you know, their mum's at home, or it's got too much going on in their life. So, you know, what is going to give them the courage?
Yeah, well, it's a really interesting thing, you know, because people get very logical about creating, and it's like they try and line up all the different things and make it all make sense. And actually, they want to know the outcome before they start. And that's one of the biggest things I notice. And like for me, you know, I hardly ever know the outcome before I start. But what I do know is if there is a expansive energy, if there is something that's going to create more in my life. And, you know, a really fun example of that is I once went to Sweden on a week's notice.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
A week. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it was crazy. And I had no money because PayPal had frozen my account. And so all the money that people had paid me to run this event was in the frozen PayPal account.
So there was an event that you were going to first.
Yes. Well, we'd started it, and without going into all the details, but it was literally like, if you don't get this many people, I'm not coming. And then PayPal froze all the money, and it was just this really.
This was before you left.
Before I left.
Okay.
Yes. And I didn't have that much money at the time, so I'm like, right. So I pretty much went to Sweden with $500 in my pocket. And
so hang on. They froze your account, and you thought, oh well, I'm just going to go anyway.
Yes,
that's the kind of courage I think I'm talking about. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, you choose based on what it's going to create for the future, you know. And for me, like, I knew that I could stay home and it would be easier in some ways.
Yeah.
And yet it didn't feel very light. It didn't feel very expansive.
And boring, maybe.
Very boring. And so I was like, okay. And I looked at the whole thing and I thought, what's the worst thing that can happen? I thought, I've got a return ticket home. So, you know, the worst thing is
come home.
I can come home. And I was only going for a week. So it wasn't like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah.
And I just was like, okay, so, and the girl that was hosting my class, she was awesome. And we just kept creating and creating. And I came home with like money in my pocket.
Nice.
Which was amazing considering that at the time.
So what, people were not paying into PayPal? Or?
We stopped some people paying into PayPal, and then I also did some other things on top of what we'd originally planned, which allowed more money to come in, which meant we could pay for all the expenses, because I didn't have the money to pay for all the room hires and all those things.
Well, this is what's so interesting, Lisa, because so many of us think there's only one way to make money.
Well,
or receive money.
That's a whole other topic, right?
Yeah.
We could go talk about that for another hour. Yeah, and this is the thing is I was willing to go, okay, I'm willing to create spontaneously. I'm willing to see what's possible when I get there. And I didn't know what it was going to look like. I just knew that somehow it would all work, right?
And it felt exciting and great, and I'm going to follow that.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly you've done it. You've sort of done it before. You've made
that was
choices
probably one
that
of
were
my
right.
Bigger. Oh yes.
And followed it.
Yes, I've done that.
So you knew this was good.
Yes, so I knew that energy. I knew the energy of there was a space of creation there. Yeah. What I've never probably taken a leap quite like that one at that time.
Did you doubt at all? Was there any doubt?
I was in question. Not so much doubt, but I was definitely like, okay, if I choose this, is it going to work? Can I create what I need to create? And it felt really light. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to choose it and let's go. And this is the thing, is most people would go, these are all the reasons I can't go. And my point of view was, these are all the reasons, well, not even these are all the reasons, I didn't have that many reasons because I didn't know what it was going to create. Because as it turns out, what it did create was like last year, I went to 10 different countries with Creativity Lab. And none of that would have happened if I hadn't gone to that initial trip to Sweden.
With the frozen account?
Yes.
Yes. And no idea how it was going to happen.
It took 5 months for PayPal to give me my money.
Oh my.
I know. So it was really interesting, that whole situation. But it showed me, though, what capacity we have for creating if we're willing to have the courage, you know. And, like, I'm not suggesting you go off and do mad, crazy things just because I said so. But I am saying, like, what if you took that one step that would take you somewhere forward, you know? Because really courage, a lot of it is about just taking that one step that will move you forward.
So, Lisa, what are you doing next month that we could...
there is something fun. So if you want to play with this a lot more, and you know, because I've got a lot of stories, that's like one. I've got probably about 100 stories of crazy things I've done. And if
that
you
sounds like a book, Lisa.
Yeah, there's too many books.
She's an incredible writer, by the way, guys.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I looked at this and I didn't actually realise I had courage. Like, and there's a, you know, and I didn't know. I just thought it was what you did. And people kept saying to me, no, that's not what other people do. I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
No, but I want what she's having, right? What was that Meg Ryan movie with Tom Hanks?
Yeah,
I think we know the scene.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. That's what I'm feeling here, Lisa. I want what she's having.
Well, you can have it.
Of course, I know. That's what you're telling us.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that with you.
Yeah. So there is, starting on the 1st of April, we're going to run a 30-day online project called Embracing Courage. And I'm going to give you a whole lot of different tools and ways of playing with this so that you can actually have the courage to create the change that you would like to create, because we all have different things that we want to create. And you know, it might be something personal, it might be something in your work, it might be something creative. It doesn't really matter. It's this thing of there's something you know that if you chose it, if you did it, would truly make a difference to you and maybe the world.
Yeah.
And so we're literally going to play with Embracing Courage, and everyone will have their different projects, so you don't have to do the same things as anyone else. And well, maybe you want to talk a little bit about what it's like being, because you've done some of the 30-day projects with me.
Well, yes.
So maybe you can...
Yeah, Lisa, so is this going to be online?
Yes, it will be online.
So it's not in person, it's all online.
It's online, yes.
So it's anyone all over the world can participate in this. Yes, I mean, I have done some of these month challenges with Lisa, and it has been brilliant. I mean, the camaraderie that's created with the group, you know, there's a real... cheerleading that's sort of involved, and Lisa is incredible at sort of helping to keep you focused by asking you questions and, you know, getting you to trust your inner knowing, and it's brilliant. Like, I highly recommend, and I'm going to sign up again.
Yeah.
Because actually, I find the more of these you do, it kind of builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
And it's like a muscle.
Yeah.
That what you're exercising. Like, we go to the gym because we, you know, want to build up our biceps or triceps, and, you know, I feel like it's a muscle that, you know, where.
Yeah.
What would that muscle be? In choosing, creating.
It's a muscle in a lot of things, because I run 5 of these a year, different topics every time, and there's a muscle in actually just keeping on choosing and keeping moving forward. And yeah, I am your cheerleader and your encourager, you might say.
Yeah. And it's fun. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And you never know where it's going to lead.
No.
You know, it's led me right here, right now.
Exactly.
Interviewing Lisa.
Yeah.
So I guess this is something I've always wanted to do, and, you know, I'm excited, and there's so many other possibilities that are in my awareness, and that I know that I'm creating for the future. And, you know, a lot has to do with working with this incredible lady who really just is incredible at asking questions. And I've done some of these creativity. What's the business called? Creativity Lab.
Yes, Creativity Lab.
Yeah, and it really truly is a nurturing of you and what you can create in your life.
Yeah, it is.
So thank you, Lisa.
Yeah,
This
thank
has
you.
been fun.
It has
been so
been
much fun.
Yeah.